And on Wednesday, the 21st of September 2022, this House agreed to an order for papers regarding the Western Sydney Aerotropolis. During the debate, the government complained about the date that the order would be due. It should be noted that the government never approached me prior to the debate with any concerns or any efforts to negotiate. Despite this, I spoke with the Honourable Ben Franklin in this chamber and I agreed to extend the return date from 21 days to 35 days. At no point did the member or another member of the government request that any entities or ministers be omitted. Almost 10 days following the order, on 30 September, the Honourable Damien Tudor-Hope wrote to the Clerk of the Parliament questioning the reasonable necessity of supplying the order for papers and stated the government considers that the House will be best assisted if a response is provided in the first instance from the Minister for Enterprise, Investment and Trade and the Western Parkland City Authority. This is unacceptable that the government has said that they will not be complying with the order of this House. There is no question on whether they should be providing the papers. This is simply an attempt to hide information about Western Sydney. In an effort to provide further time for the government and to reduce the order, I completed this order for papers, which amends my previous order by removing certain ministers and departments from the original order. In place of giving the government until 26 October for all ministers and entities to comply with the order, I have provided certain ministers and departments with an additional 26 days and the remaining with a full 65 days from today to provide the information. This is a large amount of time to comply with the order. You would think the government would recognise that there was no requirement for me to alter the order and that they would agree to a very reasonable amended order within formal business on 12th of October. Despite providing a great deal more time and removing the need for certain ministers and departments to provide information, unfortunately, it should not be a real surprise to any of us that the government did not support the order and does not intend to comply, as they are attempting to hide information regarding the most consequential changes to Western Sydney in our state's history. These papers are essential to ensure there is full transparency around the plan for the Western Sydney Aerotropolis. The government needs to be held to account on the development of these precincts, as we need to ensure that the infrastructure and planning delivers to the needs of Western Sydney communities and businesses. We all know that the government has continued to leave South West Sydney and Western Sydney behind when it comes to delivering for the needs of residents. There are overcrowded schools everywhere. Residents have been promised schools where the land still sits empty and parents have been left waiting for years and years. There have been damning reports on South West Sydney hospitals and our Western Sydney emergency departments are overwhelmed. There is a promise of jobs, but experts are casting doubt over the government's promise. On the 15th of September, ABC News said Glenn Searle, University of Sydney planning expert, had stated that the Aerotropolis would not create the 200,000 new jobs as promised, particularly in health and education.